Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the monastery, the open bar of the internet, the world's greatest shit show, and the place where we, the good brothers and sisters of this most holy of temples, seek enlightenment through the drunkest, craziest, and most batshit ways possible. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me, I have a newcomer into the temple, coming to us from Seventh Sun Publishing, currently creating Sake, Sorcerers, Adventures, Kings, and Economics. The one and only Rainer Kaasik-Aaslav. How you doing today, man?
Hello. Hello. Feeling nice. Uh, Kickstarter campaign is up and running, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, like 6 days for now, and I think it's going well, and I'm feeling nice. Yeah.
Yep. So, one of the traditions around here is opening with the humble beginning, in a sense. So,
Mhm.
with that in mind, walk me through your first introduction to role-playing games and what made it stick.
Okay. I think I have a very similar story with lots of people, but maybe some things are different. I think I was 14 or 15, and it was in late 90s or the start of 2000s, and our classmates, a brother of one of my classmates was playing a Dungeons and Dragons game,
Mm-hmm.
a second edition in this time, and we really didn't know anything about it. But this brother of the classmate gave a printout of the Dungeons and Dragons second edition, um, the core rule book uh, to him, and then we really didn't understand even the English that as much to read it all, and we made some sort of type of characters, and basically played the whole summer, and it just stick.
Yeah. Now, now, in keeping with that, with with sake, you have a particular approach that you are taking. One one that is very much removed from something like AD&D, which is you're going somewhat freeform, and AD&D is somewhat structured. So were there some other games that served as influence for the development of sake?
I think a very big influence is GURPS, uh, with uh, with all the point buy and levelless and this sort of systems.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, of course, I like big numbers. Of course, a Pathfinder in a way, and and um, and when coming back to the or starting from the creation story, it's a lot of times when we played with my groups, we were playing this sort of weird hacks of almost like everything, everything what we found mashed together like some sort of weird proto or original school Renaissance thing,
Mm-hmm.
type of games, and the and one of my players, Sven. Um the one of the guys who we started, he started playing, and who we are still when we play. He's almost always one of the guys playing, and he always like had this sort of he's like really business minded, and he always like wanted to start some sort of weird business from something. So, as we were anyway playing with some sort of weird hacks of everything, then I just had to, when I was like GMing, then I had to like come up with some sort of system. Like, okay, we have to make some sort of rule for this. Sven, you just can't start to become like automatically rich and or something like this. Let's like make some sort of rules how it works, and
Hmm. So
so,
with that in mind, GURPS, as you since you mentioned that, and the fact that this is a full point buy, that sort of point buy can allow for a lot of freedom, but it can also lead to the potential of analysis paralysis, or where somebody's worrying that a certain choice that they make now might bite them a few sessions down the road. How do you mitigate the analysis paralysis issue with sake?
Yeah, this is a can be a real problem, to be honest. And for like starting out, I have this archetypes like pre-built characters, and I advise anybody who is starting out with the system as totally new player to just choose one of them and the basic rule book what's like freely available for everybody. It has only four of those archetypes, um, and there are not much about they are full character sheets and everything, but in the full rule book there will be more and a little bit of explanation added to them, how which abilities to buy, which skills to raise and so forth. So there is a little bit of helping hand how is like best to develop the type of character. But yeah, I understand that the full point by has its like strength and his minuses. The strength is that yeah, you can build almost anything out of almost anything, and change your development up like really like start out as some sort of samurai type, but then develop like into full type of mage or something like that. This or yeah, of course you can um, like what's the word with a bad word fuck it up
Hmm.
if because there are yeah, there are a lot of choices to make.
Yeah.
So this is like pluses and minuses.
Hmm. And I do recall that in the basic rules document, you had a few archetypal characters, and I'm guessing in the full book you'll have more of those.
Yeah, in the basic book there is four, and in the full book there will be more and a little bit more explanation how to use them also.
Hmm. Now, a lot of games will have what I like to call a Rome mechanic. The phrase "all roads lead to Rome," since a lot of
Mhm.
games will have a certain mechanic that's the core, and everything sprouts out from that. Would a D20 roll be that for sake, or is there a different core resolution mechanic that you have in mind?
D20 is the main mechanic or main role you use for skill checks, for attack rolls, parrying rolls, this sort of stuff. What's like character focused. And then there is the percentage role, which is for like adventure encounters, opportunities, and hazards what happen when you are in adventuring in the wilds or adventuring in the dungeon, or when you have a domain. Then the domain has its percentages, like the percentage of unrest, the percentage of time of troubles, and so on. And so that's like mostly T20 for everything, but it's character focused. But it's like my character skill, my character like attack, parrying, whatever, and percentages for this sort of world stuff.
Hmm. It also seems unless I'm misreading this, that when it comes to natural 20s, instead of it being um a automatic hit, you're rolling a percentile to see what sort of boost that nat 20 generates.
Yeah, there are several like types. When it's when it's a skill check, then you just get a large bonus. So um, and the same with the natural one. Also, you get a large minus, and the bad things only happen when your roll goes under zero. So nothing bad may even happen. But yeah, it's you get the bonus, but with some of the attack rolls, there is just uh, straight automatic hit also.
Mm-hmm. Now, since you're going freeform with EXP, um, obviously there'd be a starting EXP budget for starting characters, but in the full book, do you plan on putting a section for what would be good XP budgets for more advanced characters, i.e., if they're starting at a higher tier than normal?
There is some sort of explanation in the start. I think it's even in the or in somewhere in the basic book too. Or is it? Oh, may not remember. But yeah, it's in the full book. It will be a some sort of explanation what like 200 X points character made with the 200 X points like mean in the context of the world,
Mm-hmm.
and some examples and character with a like when the 100 is like the 100 experience points is like the baseline, but if you want to like this sort of true like from rag to riches story, like oh we want to start out maybe as like teenagers who haven't gone to school yet, maybe even or something like this, then maybe you start out like even with maybe 20 points, or we just we are really young. We don't have any skills yet.
Mm-hmm.
Something like this.
Yeah, and when it comes to magic, which I kind of have to ask because of the sorcerer part of the name.
Mhm.
Um, are you treating magic as just a skill, or do you have something particular in mind with how magic and how spellcasting will work within your system?
Magic is uh, basically skill or skills because all the schools of magic is different skills. Like the astral projection is a skill, beastmaster is a skill, a different skill, restoration is a different skill, and so forth. And the skill is the what you will mostly be rolling, but the spells are like abilities what you buy separately. So you raise your skill and buy separate abilities or spells. Or, and but there are some moments where you just roll the skill
Mm-hmm.
also.
Now, on the Kickstarter, you described the game as modular, starting simple and adding rules as you get more accustomed. How exactly does that modularity manifest?
Okay, the coming back to the magic part, I think it's the good example. It's like you just don't have to use the magic, the sorcery module at all. Or, okay, maybe you want to more this sort of fantasy stuff in your game, so you still want to have the sorcery module, but then there is the economics module and the whole domain rules and whole this sort of system, but you don't want to build your castles, you don't want to like trade in the seas, so you just don't use uh, the the domain rules part, or the players just don't use the domain rules part, because the domain rules part, I as myself see it, I see it as a word building tool for GMs also. There are like a lot of this sort of internet threads. There have been in the world building forums, like people asking like, okay, how much should this kingdom have soldiers and or this sort of questions. So the the domain module helps with those questions also, even if your players don't will not be, developing their own kingdom.
Hmm.
So that's how it's modular, and it's a modular in a different way also. Like when we come to the combat system, then the basic combat is like I roll attack and the enemy rolls parrying and I hit or not. But if you are going like more into the system, then you just don't have to roll attack. You can roll attack to attack the head, or try to disarm a person, or try to push them over, or sort of this sort of different maneuvers and build your character around this sort of different maneuvers. But if you start out, then you don't have to take uncounted them. Then you're just like, okay, I roll attack. It's
Hmm.
just combat. I just attack. That's
Yeah,
all.
which does provide something interesting since a lot of games that are within the fantasy genre end up treating magic as a mandatory thing for it instead of having it be optional or having degrees of it. Since obviously in something like say Conan the Barbarian, magic isn't going to be as frequent as it is in something like Forgotten Realms.
Hmm. Yeah, it's the soccer will go with a similar in the similar way. It's more like built on the early modern fantasy of this sort of gunpowder things and stuff, and the magic is more this sort of should be more like mysterious, something that you can't like see. It's like not some sort of big fanfares and explosions, but like something sinister, some person who looks into your eye and takes control of you without you understanding it even, or just deletes your memories, and then or person coming out from their body and attacking you as a soul without you seeing them, and it's not like this sort of things.
Hmm.
But yeah, you can just throw it out, and we are gonna play samurais and bureaucrats. That's the thing.
Yeah, and I believe one of the other modules, one that is focused on domains with the part of it is the king aspect,
Hmm.
which if I'm from what I read from the basic rules that you released not too long ago, that involves more of a macro play. Um, that
Hmm.
involves the idea of domains of how you manage the um, in universe politics, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's as a player, you can start like building your kingdom, or like I said before, it can be used as a world building tool for GM, and yeah, it has a lot of this sort of establishments, systems. It has the war system. The war system is not in the basic rules, but it's in the full book, like all the companies, uh, how you establish the companies. The companies are basically like NPCs or something, like your monster, or like a samurai enemy or something like this.
Hmm.
Uh, and work pretty similar ways. And players, of course, may take control of the companies if they have established them. They build their castles, build villages, build not farms, but build um, like, okay, mines, this sort of stuff.
Hmm.
there are a lot of things to build, but at the same time, it's not like this sort of really detailed that you're not gonna build a blacksmith in your uh, in your city, or you're not gonna build a tannery or something like this, but you manage like real people, like you manage your kingdom this way that the blacksmith and the tanner move into your kingdom and establish their blacksmith and tannery, and you collect taxes from them. You can't go like even right now, more in the earlier times, you couldn't go just to uh, if you were ruler of the city, you couldn't go into the houses of people and decide what are they doing. They are doing their own thing. Of course, you can maybe ask taxes from them, but you can like now you all start to be blacksmiths. No, it doesn't work this way.
Yeah. Uh, Now, with that said, how do you is it a it is the domain end of something going to be done in a way where it's where one doesn't have to make a full hex crawl if they don't need to? Because I did check through the character sheet. The domain aspect isn't on the character sheet that's currently available.
Yeah,
And I have to I just realized I had to correct myself because I didn't see the link to the domain sheet. So my bad on that.
yeah, no problem. The main sheet is available. Yeah, but it's a different sheet. It's um it's a pretty large one. Mm,
Hmm.
to be honest,
it's
I don't know but if you put the video up, if you want to link it or something,
I will
I
I
made a YouTube video about using the domain sheet, the domain system. That may be like better to just link than me explaining. It's a pretty big part of the game.
hmm but with that kind of thing in mind, could someone theoretically run sake in a West Marches or Hex Crawl kind of fashion?
Yes. For that, this adventure system. Um, again, next different rules. What comes with uh, again a bit of sheets for a party when they are adventuring. Because when the party is adventuring, they have like mm, one opportunities and one hazard score, which are pros and scores. And from them, from those scores, like things happen, and there is like a lot of random tables helpful for pre-filled random tables for GM to work with this sort of exact campaign.
Hmm.
And yeah, it can be connected with the domain system. Also, you can like conquer your domain from some sort of monster field or whatever area.
Yeah. You hinted at earlier mass combat. The
Mhm.
which obviously is the notion of doing whole army versus army affairs. Um,
Mhm.
how do you make sure that that is relatively streamlined so it's not just adding more to normal combat?
Mm, uh, relatively streamlined. I'm sorry, I don't understand them. I think.
Um, that it isn't just because there's been some cases that that have used mass combat, but it's just adding more units onto the battlefield instead of abstracting it is kind of the thing.
Oh, okay, okay. No, it's like the your player character is almost not like in the battlefield, or their stats. Most of their stats don't are not important. Only the tactics and social skills and this sort of stuff. What you ballistics also when you but the players take several one or several uh, uh, companies what they use against the enemy companies. And those companies are more simple than PCs. They don't have this sort of roll pairing. They don't have damage reduction from armor or anything like this. They are in this way really much more simplified. They don't even roll for damage. They always do the same damage. So you can uh, think like more strategically in this sort of mass combat that you can that my cannon makes 6 points of damage and the enemy has like 12 uh, health points. So if I shoot them they and hit, then they have only 6 health points left, which means that they have to roll for morale and they're out of combat if the morale fails, and that's done. So it's uh, you are taking count like a lot of different types of things compared with one-on-one combat. In a way, it's like more simpler. You have a really simple companies with only few stats, but in a way, it's like complex in a different way. You think as like as a leaders of the armies. What's like the best thing to do.
Yeah, and from what I've seen of the domains, um, would it be fair of me to say that it's trying to channel a similar management that one might see in a grand strategy game like, say, Crusader Kings or Civilization?
Oh yeah, I think the Crusader Kings is really um, really good mm, comparison because I really like the game and of course have been probably inspired by that in some ways and in some ways even if what I probably don't know, but in subconsciously because I've played Crusader Kings 2 mostly
Hmm.
a lot in my times.
Well, which is understandable given how much of an investment all the additional content for Crusader Kings is. Like
Hmm.
if I were to show the full if I were to show the full list and how that adds up, it would be offensive.
Yeah. That's a great game.
I mean, I like the game. It's just that like is sometimes a one-sided affair, especially if you have RNG. I would say RNG not on your side, but let's be honest. The dice gods hate everyone.
Oh yeah, it's sometimes the randomly dying from there. It's sometimes gets really on your nerves.
But
But yeah, that's not part of soccer. Your character randomly dying. No, that
yeah,
doesn't happen.
no,
Okay, it may happen, but it's on the GM. It's not me.
no.
It's not written into system that now you die.
Now you've described sake as taking place in a early modern fantasy. Would you,
Mhm.
based on the way you describe it as feudalism waning, companies starting to take shape, would it be the fantasy equivalent to early Renaissance?
Yeah, in a way, it could be compared to the Renaissance in a way with the Age of Sail,
Mm-hmm.
but of course the the before the Meiji Restoration era, Japan, the Chinese bureaucracy, the Indonesian. There are like a lot of different. inspirations. So mm, so the name sake, uh, a bit like, and the using of the words like shinobi, samurai, this sort of words, like some way says it's all like very Japan based,
Hmm.
but it's like this sort of mix of different cultures and ideas, but where you can see like something from Venetian Republic and something from Japan in a same culture.
Yeah, I
But
could,
yeah.
I could, I could certainly get that. And I, going through it, I was getting something of a vibe of not just Age of Sail, but um, along the lines of the Fertile Crescent and the surrounding areas of that. You know,
Mhm.
something that can go from Europe to Asia and back if you're going along the trade routes.
Yeah, it's there are like a lot of in the Sterling world there are a lot of different cultures like something more some what are more inspired by, like I said, like we started Japan, Venice, or something like this. Some are more inspired by Eastern Europe and stuff like some what are more inspired by Maya, Inca, and so Indonesia. So so there are, because the trading part is a really big part of the
Mm-hmm.
game. So the game needs, how to say, this sort of a big, large world, because you have to have a room for your ship to travel and buy a trade good and travel back to the next port and sell it, and then travel to the next port of totally different culture and buy something from there and adventure there.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
because this is the trade, this
mm-hmm.
is the way our trading works. Like no point to like trade with a guy on the next door.
Yeah. And with that in mind, do you plan on on accommodating something like ship combat if somebody wanted to have their campaign be themed around piracy, since we're dealing with the Age of Sail?
Yeah, the ship combat is in the full book also. It's basically works the same as the combat in company scale. The only difference is that the ship is a player in the ship combat also, and it has like a little bit different stats and different moves than regular companies. Like the ship itself mostly doesn't attack, but the cannons on the ship attack, and the marine companies on the ship attack. And they can attack the ship, the enemy ship, or the other companies on the ship. So let's say I am a player. I control like the cannon company. So the enemy ship is moving. I shoot them. And now I decide. Okay, do I shoot the ship? Do I shoot the ship rigging, the sails, this other stuff? Because when I take them down, the ship can't move anymore. Or do I? But it's harder to hit them. Or do I shoot the ship? Or I know that the enemy has a cannons also. The ship. I just want to destroy the cannons. Because when I destroy the cannons, the ship couldn't attack me anymore. So maybe I just don't care about damaging the ship, but attack straight the cannons to try to destroy the cannons.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in your mind, you see that it's like the ship. See it as a one thing. The ship is sailing, but when you make the action, then you have to decide to attack company, the cannon company, or maybe the marine company on the ship, the ship hull or the ship rigging.
Yeah, I can certainly get that, and of course, the presence of magic in your setting makes for its own particular monkey wrench, for lack of a better term, in the situation.
Oh yeah. If the priest part of the magic system is like some sort of in a some way like. more powerful than the regular sorcery, and in the way I mean that it can like more straightforwardly change the real world, like uh, a priest of a really of a wind god could call out the storm, and yeah, in this sort of ship combat situation, this can be really a game changer. But this is like I said, the game is really this sort of crunchy and um, really for optimizers where you're really into this sort of character optimizing, then you probably love parts of it. So, for example, when you there is like no great winds at all, just really slow winds, and you need see a like large enemy armada and want to make a big storm to destroy them all at once.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you are a priest of powerful wind god. So you just have to roll a really high number. So how to roll this sort of really high number? I think we are talking about roll 80 with 20. You probably have to make some sort of sacrifices. You have to make dances. So it's like you really build around those numbers, and those numbers will start to like tell a story. Why there is a like human sacrifice in the world?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you sacrifice a human to the god gives you like the largest numerical bonus. Why they hold like small godlings in the temples? Like because when these godlings are near the rituals, then it gives a bonus also. When the why there are dances on the rituals? Because real dances give bonus. Why there is need of several priests for ritual and so on so on. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, it's inevitable that somebody's going to try and homebrew or try and house rule aspects of what's present. Do you plan
Mhm.
on putting in some guidance for if somebody wants to make their own weapons or make their own spells, for instance?
Mm, for spells or like mm, the the whole magic system, I think that at the start of the magic system, I have like pretty fairly defined how the Saka magic should like work. That there is the other world, there is the soul, and basically everything is like managing this thing, managing person's soul and managing the other world. So I think there is room for a lot of room for home brewing
Mm-hmm.
and some help for that also. And and yeah, well, of course it's home. I think it's um, I think the system is pretty homebrew friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Like and making new spells, it's like, yeah, it's logical that you do new spells, new
Yeah.
weapons. Probably, of course, there may be hard to find the balancing point when you start out, but when you have gamed for several years, everybody comes up with their own brew.
Yeah.
It's cool, and
Um. Mm-hmm.
and the domain system also like.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there is not this sort of. I made my own religion. Why there is no this sort of there is no this sort of temples and stuff. Of course, I make your my own gods, my own temples. Yeah.
Yeah. Um. I remember I remember having this issue with with a certain other game where because of the fact that it was taking place in the Fertile Crescent, I wanted a character who was wielding instead of a longsword, wielding a khopesh.
Hmm.
Uh, and I had to do a bit of finagling to make that work because just saying, "Oh, just reskin the longsword into being a khopesh" doesn't satisfy because a longsword or a short sword is not the same as a khopesh either in building or in the way that it's used.
Yeah, it's Kopesh. I think it feels like more like even a bit like an axe in a way. Like.
Well, it is more of a chopping thing, and the same could be said for Um, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation because well, as Aztec is not one of my not one of my fortes language wise, but Mika Kutli.
Yeah,
Kut.
I have those things in the game also.
Mm.
I'm not gonna say this word out loud and ever. I have no idea how to pronounce
But
it.
I'm of course referring to the referring to the clubs that have obsidian edges on them that were
Yeah,
used in Mesoamerica.
yeah, I know them. Yeah.
Um, and
They're stat out in the not in the main book, but the crime districts of Iron Gate, like the dungeon crawl, because the crime districts of the Iron Gate takes place in the Iron Gate city, which is this sort of more Mesoamerican inspired area of the Astanic world.
mhm.
So
And I suppose another example of unusual weapons would be the Taiaha that was used in ancient Polynesia, which is this weird mix of a short spear with the other end flattened so it could be used as a club.
sounds a good weapon on Polynesia club. Maybe even usable as a or
Mm. Mm-hmm. Um, it's I often try to encourage people to look at more unorthodox ways to equip characters because the sword and board is the standard way to equip a fighter, for instance, but it's also the most boring milk toast way to do it.
yeah.
And some and in some cases it wouldn't really fit. I've had that debate before. Like, what if we're doing a if we're doing a Japan themed campaign? Why are we bothering with shields?
Yeah,
You know, it's one of those things that that folks often misunderstand. You know.
it's like for soccer, I've gone with this early modern stuff, but what brings the firearms into mix and makes them pretty common, and it pretty much changes up uh, the character design, or how you design your fighter, because the firearm have this sort of piercing quality that they can shoot like uh, uh, pierce the armor.
Mm-hmm.
So um, so maybe having the best armor, it's not the most usable, but the firearms are like somewhat slow in the same time, because everybody can take a gun and will be really really dangerous. Like
For
the musket damage is the largest damage of the any weapon in Sake system, and it can, with bad luck, basically kill any of the starting archetypes with one shot,
mm-hmm.
theoretically. Not
Yeah.
kill, but take them out from the fight, like.
Mm-hmm.
But in the
It's
same time, there is like not much of this sort of way to like get better with a musket. Like, yeah, you can like add up your skill and like become a musket sharpshooter, but like compared with a bow, with a long bow, you can train to shoot like several arrows in the round, uh, shoot more further, and this sort of thing. So it's like I think the adding of the firearms like really mixes up how the combat plays out.
mm-hmm. I could certainly see that. Now, what are you shooting for as far as a page count for the full book?
Um, 450 is uh, it's like what I have taken the like when I have been talking with the printers, the costs and stuff, that the 450 is the things what I'm shooting, and maybe it's like I can add something, and let's see. But it's like the 450, it can hold everything, or the main game. In
Hmm.
of course, in the next years or something, there are maybe planned with some adventures to give out and this sort of things. But that it's like not in, that's for the future.
Yeah, I can certainly get that vibe. Now, what would you be shooting for as far as a release window?
Release window.
Like
Sorry.
not a date per se, but a general range on the calendar as far as where you'd want to where you'd want to
Oh,
release it.
okay. Uh, I I I I want to get the digital version done for November, and and but I officially wrote that in the Kickstarter that it will be done in December. Because I want it to be done in October. Then maybe something happens, so it takes more time, whatever. So officially, I say December, but I want it to be done for October. And similar with the print version, I would like it to be done a little bit more earlier, but officially in the March it should be. I want to in the next year's March, sending them out.
Hmm. And I will certainly be looking forward to seeing how it develops. But with that said, I do want to sincerely thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to come all the way to my temple and enjoy the madness that happens here. And anytime you see fit to return, whether it's to further talk about sake or to enjoy sake, the door is
Yeah.
always open. As I often say around here, drinking is not mandatory, but it is encouraged.
Oh no, I forgot the drink. Okay, but thank you for having me there. It was like really enjoyable talk.
Yeah.
Thank you a lot.
Hmm. And of course, a sincere thanks goes out to everyone who took the time out of their schedule to come onto the show and enjoy the madness. And there'll be plenty more where that came from, as there always is here on the open bar of the internet. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.